What's going on, people? And we're back again. We've got Tom Huddlestone in the building, aka Tommy Beckenbauer. Yeah, that's what it is. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Not too bad.
Nice one, man. How did you feel about that when Martin Yo threw that comparison out there?
Um, yeah, obviously it was a nice comparison, and to be compared to one of the sort of greats of all time for style of play was a massive compliment, especially at such a young age. And Martin probably would have seen a lot more than Beckenbauer played than myself, or possibly played against him himself. I'm not sure.
Yeah. You see, there, your playing style. Was it always like that growing up? Because it was quite unorthodox for like an English midfielder to kind of have that playing style. It was quite hustle and bustle, like box to box, and there weren't too many midfielders that kind of played with that kind of relaxed, elegant style of football and have the range of passing that you had. Did you always play like that, or did your game like kind of develop as you got older?
Um, I think from sort of a worthwhile age, so not when you're young and everyone's just chasing the ball and stuff.
Yeah.
But I seen a video recently of Bradley Johnson on Instagram when we was under 13s. We played against Arsenal, and I was probably a foot and a half taller than everybody else. So I think on a personal level, I never had as you said, the typical English midfielder mentality where you've got to be battling and fighting for every ball. Because I had the natural size and strength, it probably allowed me to work on my touch or my technique and using both feet more so than the smaller kids who were trying to compete physically with a lot of players rather than working on the technical aspects of it.
Yeah, and you said that you're like a foot taller than everyone. But it's weird because like the rumors go around saying that when you did first get released, they were saying it's because you weren't big enough. So did you have
Yeah,
like a mad growth spurt or
um, my last year at Forest, I was always naturally taller than everyone, but then I
mm,
think that last season I had a bit of a growth spurt, which gave me Osgood slatters in my knee for about 3 months.
mm,
Um, so yeah, that was. But I think they have to give an official line, probably out of I don't know 10 or 15 potential reasons, and I think mine would be he wouldn't be strong enough or something.
mm,
But we had a coach who was what you'd class as very British, who wanted everyone sort of being aggressive and flying into tackles. But obviously, if you're close to 6 foot at 12 years old, you ain't going to be kicking everyone, and well, it's impossible to go shoulder to shoulder anyway.
yeah,
So I think that was, I think it was probably they didn't think I'd be aggressive enough, but I think the actual line was strong enough.
that's mad. That is absolutely mad, bro. And obviously you're from Notts. You started at Forest,
Yeah.
and it's mad that area, especially that region's got like a reputation for producing quite a lot of top footballers. The likes of like there's Walker, like Coley, like Pennant, and loads of them. What do you think? There's a specific reason why you guys tend to produce such top footballers? There's so many. Isn't JJ's from there as well, isn't he?
Yeah, JJ's from Clifton in Nottingham. Obviously, Wes Morgan's won the Premier League recently. There's
Yeah, yeah. I saw Wes
e-
when I was out there.
even a few in my like Nottingham City schoolboys team. There was myself, Leon Best, Kelvin Wilson, who had a lot of good years at Celtic and Forest. Julian Bennett played a lot of games for Forest. Um, yeah, there's a lot to be fair. I don't know. I think because it's especially a few years ago, it probably wasn't. I don't know the easiest place to grow up in. My area wasn't so bad, but I know a few of the lads like Pennant and a few of the lads from the Meadows and St Anne's. It was quite rough, and that's probably your only sort of escape to kind of get out of the area, kind of thing.
Mm.
Not trying to sound too American,
No, no, no. I get
but
it.
I think yeah, it's either the sporting options one route, or um, obviously people turn to crime and staying on the street for the wrong reasons. So I think a lot of the lads especially within and around certain areas in Nottingham. Staying down the sporting route was a big factor in that. And as you say, a lot have done very well for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got into the Derby reserves quite young. Like, what was it, like 15 or something like that? Like, what age were you when you realised that, like, you were just better than everyone your age group?
I did well in my obviously primary school. There was me and one of my best mates were, what were we? We were probably playing 3 years up at school. So year six that are like 10 and 11-year-olds, but we were playing for them when we were sort of probably 7 or 8 maybe. And then I thought it was 2 or 3 of us that were slightly better my 4 years at Forest, even though I ended up sort of getting released after 4 years. And then when I signed for Derby, we had a very good, helpful manager in Gary Bowyer. And then there was myself, Lee Holmes, who went on to play for Derby. I think he's Derby's youngest ever player. Nathan Doyle, Dan Martin. The 4 of us were in England Victory Shield squad like a year or 2 later. So I think it's at that stage, once you start getting a bit of recognition in and around like the England Victory Shield team under 15s or 16s, I think then you realise that you're one of the better ones in your age group and you've got a realistic chance of making a career in the game.
Yeah, and what was it like? You was in the England setup from like schoolboys, like under 16s, all the way through to the first team. What was it like there? Did you think that benefited you as well, like at club level? And what were your teammates like? Are there any players that you were with in every single team going all the way up into the seniors?
Yeah, our Victory Shield squad was very good. So we had there were some that were unbelievable at the time that went on to have good careers, but at the time you were thinking they could be anything they wanted. I always remember thinking Grant Ledbetter was on a different level to everyone at the time, under 16s. Luke Moore had a big reputation at Villa as well. Went on to play a lot of games. We had Dean Bowditch, who was down at Ipswich, Ryan Jarvis, and then a few that, as you say, went on from 16s to the senior team. We had James Milner, obviously. A lot is documented about him, but he was exactly the same then as he is now. He gets a bit of stick. Everyone thinks he's boring, but he's a good lad. He's funny with it, but just because he's sort of ultra professional, everybody sort of classes him as boring, but he's far from it. Aaron Lennon was in the squad. I don't think he played for the senior team, but there was the likes of Stephen Taylor, who was at Newcastle. There was a lot at that age, to be fair. That there was obviously a few that I don't even think they made it into the professional game for whatever reasons, even though being at big clubs. But yeah, there was a lot that went on to have good, solid careers within the game, and quite a few that are still playing now.
Sick. What was Milner like anyway? Because I always said, like, not too long ago, I said that he's one of like the most underrated players, probably like of his generation for England, because he's so good at playing every position. I think sometimes if you're not a specialist, people overlook you. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, technically, fundamentally, like he's sound, pass with both feet, great engine. Do you know what I mean? He can play pretty much every. I think he broke through playing. I've seen him play up front. He broke through. Was he playing on the left or something? Left wing.
Yeah, he was playing on the wing, especially at them young ages. He was playing on the wing as well. And he'll probably be the first to admit he's not like what you class as a typical winger who's doing step overs but as a footballer, and I've said it for years, he's probably one of the most sort of efficient footballers. If he plays on the wing and he gets the ball, you can 95% of the time he's getting a cross in, as you say, whether it's the type of cross he wants, or he has to clip one, or he has to bring it back and use his left foot. He's always putting a dangerous cross in the area, where a lot of wingers have got one type of cross, and if that crossing on is getting blocked by the fullback and you've got a throw in. Whereas for Millie, he's always getting a cross in. I think the older he's got in his career, he's moved more into a central position, which with his game knowledge, his technical ability, and definitely his engine, I think that probably suits him more. But yeah, I think he has got everything. He can fly into tackles. He's strong. He's probably still one of the fittest in the country. And now he's, what is he, 33, 34. He's got more experience than most and playing in a lot of big games for sort of 3 or 4 massive clubs as well.
Absolutely. And with yourself, now looking at football, how the game's evolved, do you sometimes look at it and think, you know what, the way the game is played now, that your style was probably more suited to the game today? Because I see a lot of footballers now, they're starting to kind of appreciate the more technical, the more cultured players now. Like, it's funny because when Man City signed Rodri, I was like, yeah, he looks like a Spanish Tom Huddlestone. That's what I said straight away. Like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, he's just gliding across the floor, breaking up the play, and just pinging the ball all over the place. And it was mad. When you were playing, the same with Michael Carrick. It was only when Michael got like to the end of his career, they started really respecting what midfielders like you guys were doing at the time. Because I remember before, Scotty Parker was keeping Michael at the team all the time. I mean, they were going for the bulldog, breaks up the play, as opposed to Michael and players like yourself that were just literally like playmaking from deep. And now the game is kind of changed, and players like that, now you've got the likes of Jorginho, Fernandinho, and these guys are starting to get more respect in the game.
Yeah, possibly. When I look back at old games as well, and I think, oh, we used to try and play and this and that, but when you actually watch back sort of games from, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago, it was quite hustle and bustle even then. But in your mind from back then, you thought you used to try and play. But I think, as you say, majority of the teams now try and get the ball down on the floor and play the right way. So I think, yeah, possibly if I was 10 years younger, it might have been slightly different, but that can't be helped. But yeah, I think even in the Championship, a lot of teams now were trying to sort of play through the thirds as well. Whereas when I first broke into the Derby team, sort of 16, 17 years ago, every team was literally back to front as quick as possible, win the second balls, and sort of try and get throw-ins or corners up in the opposition's half. So I think the game is evolving a lot, even sort of the step down.
Yeah, when you were playing, who was your favourite manager in terms of like appreciating the way you played and allowing you to kind of play that way? Or were there managers that kind of wanted you to step away from like your natural game and maybe get about people a bit more?
I think in that aspect, obviously, like George Burley gave me my debut at 16, first game of the season after I'd left school, and he played me. Well, I was suspended for 2 games, and then he rested me for 1. So I played literally every game for 2 seasons, apart from 3 matches. And he just tried to keep improving my strengths. He never tried to. Obviously, he gave me guidance and stuff, but he never tried to get me away from what had got me in the team in the first place. And I think the same if you speak to players down the years with Harry. Harry knows what every player is good at, and he just wants you to do that, as simple as that sounds. So if you're a winger and you take your fullback on, when you get the ball, don't think, oh, I need to find a pass inside. Just take your winger on, take your fullback on, get crosses. So I think Harry in that aspect was very good at letting people do what they're good at, kind of thing, and not trying to overcomplicate their game.
So yeah, it was definitely more like a man management thing from Harry then, you'd say.
Yeah, more than some managers I've had have been very tactical, which is good. But with Harry, it was sort of, you're good at this, you do that. He's good at that. So obviously we had Aaron and Gareth on the wing, so it was a case of give them to the ball, give them an option if needs be, but if not, let them take their fullback on and get crosses in the box, really.
Yeah. That makes sense because it's funny because I was having a conversation as well about Harry Redknapp. Like there's certain managers wherever they go, they tend to bring their players with them in it. And he was one of their managers everywhere he went. Like he always took certain players with him. I think he's taken Defoe everywhere, Benjani everywhere, Cranshaw everywhere. There's bare players in it, and I think
Yeah,
it shows you as well, yeah, that the relationship that certain managers just have with certain players that they'll just follow them anywhere in it. And he seemed like that kind of guy. Do you know what I mean? Even if you haven't met Harry Redknapp, man, you see his interviews, you see what he's like, and you just think, you know what? Like he just seems like a sound guy to play with,
yeah.
play
I
for
think
even.
for a manager, especially as I say, Harry, he lets players do what they're good at. So if he's had 3 or 4 players, as you say, like Crouchy, Defoe, Crenshaw, he knows exactly what he's going to get from them, and vice versa. They know what to expect from the manager. So where you see managers nowadays spending 200 million to bring in their own players, they don't, obviously they see what the players like on the pitch, but they don't know the ins and outs. So I think it is quite a good idea from Harry and certain other managers where you get players in that you've worked with because you know exactly what you're going to get from them. And obviously, if you're not pleased with what you're going to get from them, you don't try and bring them with you to your next club.